Welcome to Industry Insiders, created and produced by the Center for Entertainment and Hospitality Management at California State University, Fullerton. During this series, we sit down with influential professionals in the entertainment and hospitality industries that are located across the world. Our goal is to learn about each professional's career and gain wisdom from their experience in the industry.
Jordon Bem is an investment professional and founder of Moliving. Moliving is a hospitality/real estate company that values sustainability and technology. The company offers landowners the opportunity to build hotels at a fraction of the cost of a traditional hotel. To add on, Jordon holds a bachelor's degree in business and economics from Brandeis University and is an active HM advisory board member. Now please join us as we learn from Jordon Bem.
Welcome everyone to our fall 2021 premiere episode of Industry Insider. I am Professor Roberts. My co-host with me today is Isabel Liao, got it right there. So welcome, Isabel. Welcome to the show. How are we doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
All right, we're good. So without any further ado, we want to bring on our guests. If you're tuning in the audience, feel free to engage, ask questions. I see you, Orange Mo, Kayla, hello. So now we're going to bring in Jordon. Bim, welcome to the show. How are we doing today?
Doing great. How about yourself?
We're doing well. So we have introduced you to everyone through that introduction. We are here today. Our first question for you, Jordon, is what, in terms of your current kind of projects, what are you working on right now that excites you the most?
Honestly, it's changing the face of hospitality industry. We created Moliving in order to create the best case use of real estate. So if you back into what the best case use of real estate is, it ends up being hotel space. And specifically in the hotel space, you would see that seasonal hotels generate the most income on a nightly basis because they're very in demand during short periods of time. So what we created is a nomadic hospitality solution, and hence a hotel room that could actually be moved. So our idea is to have our hotel rooms follow seasonality so that we can obtain the highest average daily rates and the highest occupancy known to the hotel industry. So that's what excites me most.
We love it. We love it. So what we're going to do today is we'll ask you questions about kind of your current position, what you're doing now, as well as the history and hospitality. And then really we want to learn a lot just about you yourself, what motivates you, what drives you, kind of things like that. So that's the plan for today. We have to say hello to Kayla, Jordon, Ryan Tang is here. Hello, Ryan. Sandy and Eileen are watching us. So thank you for all of your support and watching us here. Isabel, I'll let you kind of come off mute and ask your first questions, and then we'll kind of go back and forth.
Well, later, if there's time, I do have questions about the product. But can we start with what your day-to-day tasks look like in your current role?
So my day-to-day, I'm a one man does all almost. So we're a small team, very dynamic team in Moliving, and a very entrepreneurial and close-knit team. So my biggest ally would actually be my sister Hannah that works with me. So my background, just to give you some background info, is the development space and real estate space. My sister's background is more in the hospitality industry. So what I know how to do is actually build. She knows how to take care of guests. So my day-to-day is following up with our factories, finding new owners that are willing to JV with us, talking to press recently because we've had a lot of press interest, and just developing the brand more and more across the United States and internationally. We have a lot of international interest right now.
When we look at your career, it's obvious that you're very passionate and excited about your current venture. What do you feel was the turning point in your career when you realized this is what I'm here to do and I'm all in?
So probably was about 2 years ago. So this started off as a side project. I was working for a family office and was doing very traditional development, acquiring existing assets or acquiring pieces of land and developing mostly retail. And I've built a lot. I've, bought and sold a lot. I think the real turning point was when we started actually building our first units and seeing an idea come to life and seeing the interest we had from so many other people, that I knew I had something that would really actually make a change. And that's what really got me going, is saying, hey, I have the ability to actually change something versus doing the same thing over and over again that no one will actually realize is there or not.
And then kind of the next question in this kind of set of questions is to add on to this, why do you love what you do?
Honestly, because it gets me going. I wake up in the morning dreaming of this, dreaming of how can I actually make the product better? How can I find, synergies in our team? How can we change something? And it's different than waking up and being dreary and saying, hey, I got to do the same thing over and over again, because every day is an adventure. Every day we're doing something else. And just depends on, the WeWork slogan is do what you love. And I'm really doing what I love.
Awesome. And then the flip side is, what is something that scares you? What scares you as you're looking at your career and the industry moving forward? What are some of your fears?
So the fears in regards to Moliving itself, or just in my...
Both.
That we grow so quick that we don't keep control on the product. So the real advantage of what we're doing is speed and being able to replicate a process over and over again. So if you're building a traditional hotel, it will take you maybe 2 to 7, maybe 10 years to actually build a hotel. With Moliving, we have the opportunity to actually wheel in a hotel in 3 to 5 months. So since we actually, during Labor Day, got some amazing press from New York Times, Business Insider, and whatnot, the demand and the pipeline has been growing tremendously. So now it's a question of actually getting things rolling.
I see. Interesting. So Isabel, I know you had some questions about the product. Now might be like a cool time to get into that, and then we'll kind of go back and forth.
Okay, so on the website, I noticed that they do address like solar panels, fund the energy, and water. There's like a water system that recycles some of the water in the unit. How does the air conditioning work? Because as a company that prioritizes sustainability, like how does it work with like the air conditioning and refrigeration?
So the air conditioning, just traditional air conditioner. It's a mini split system that's going to be duct. In regards to sustainability, the interesting thing is, since we're under what's called the RVIA code and the ANSI 119.5, so that's exactly the same code that you'd have in a typical Airstream or any other RV. We're actually very low on power. So we have a limit of 50 amps that we can actually utilize. So we're very low consuming in terms of energy, but in addition to just low consumption of energy, our energy is mostly harvested from solar panels. As a matter of fact, our units that we have right now that we're beta testing across the United States have been running on solar panels since May.
Go ahead, Isabel. What other product questions do you have? That was a good one there.
I don't know how ignorant this question is, but can you stack them on top of each other if you had like exterior stairs, so that way you could like make double use of the land,
Absolutely. So we actually built these to be able to be stacked. We would have to modify the product. And by the way, it's a great question. We'd have to modify our current product, because right now on top of every unit that we have solar panels. And the idea is to have each unit be independent, but eventually we'll be able to stack 5 wide and 3 high with an exoskeleton, as you said, staircase. So sort of having it like a very, very high-end motel.
Interesting. See, no such thing as ignorant questions, Isabel. They're all good. They're all good. You mentioned that you got some press recently in the New York Times and some other publications. What's your philosophy on handling like negative press? How do you handle your critics, both with Moliving and personally?
There's no bad press, no bad critics, because our critics helps us find flaws eventually in the product that we can fix. So we have to take everyone's opinion. Some people are going to love what we do. Other people aren't going to like what we do. But so far, the response has been overwhelmingly great, and we're super excited about it. And we have a lot of new press interest, and we're really looking forward to demonstrating what we can actually do.
Many times we learn lessons through failure. So I'm curious as your answer to this question. How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
I've had so many. I've had
You
so
can
many
pick one.
failures throughout the past. I just keep trucking along. My parents have always told me to go learn somewhere else and bring back the skills that you took somewhere else. So I've had plenty of things I've been great at, plenty of things that I've been bad at, all the way from business to playing tennis, for example. Played a lot of tennis in childhood and taught me how to deal with stress, and I've had a lot of wins, a lot of losses. Just have to take a look at everything. And as I would always say, there's silver lining in everything that you do.
Exactly. Continue to tune in and ask questions. We have a question from Ryan. So good to hear from you, Ryan. Ryan says, hello, Jordon. I believe that networking is the most important part of the college experience. How has making professional connections helped you build your career today?
It's made my career. I network every day, and I find you have to be a social guy. In your case, you have to be a social person, and just have to go out. And it comes back to what I was saying before. You have to love what you do, because if you love what you do, you're going to talk about it with love, and people are going to get interest from it. If you're looking at someone smiling and talking and being super engaged and let's go, you sort of transmit it. It's like a disease almost, and people get excited for you. So people take interest in what you're doing and keep in touch, and eventually whether it's a bank, whether it's an investor, whether it's someone that you'll eventually go to work with, people will know who you are and be like, hey, I spoke to this guy. He really seems passionate about what he's doing, and it's a great thing.
In addition to networking, we feel that mentorship is very, very important. So when we're thinking of mentorship, who has been the most influential person for you growing up?
Definitely my father. My father started off in the textile space and has morphed from the textile space into real estate, and has really built a great business. He still works today and probably will work till the very last day.
Yeah.
But true inspiration doesn't do everything right, but does everything for the right reasons. And he's taught me to actually look so many steps ahead that you wouldn't even know the steps actually exist. True inspiration, and overall great guy.
Nice. Good to hear that. Isabel, over to you for another question.
I can ask more about the product or about your career.
You choose.
The mic's yours for the next question.
Do you plan to have units available for consumer purchase, not just hospitality?
Not for the moment. So the idea of having all of our units for us is that we joint venture with landowners. Landowners give into a joint venture. They give their land and some minor permanent infrastructure. So what we call main lodge, where all the F&B can actually be run out of. We provide the management services, the reservation system, and so on, but we also provide the units. If we own the units, we can control what experience you have with the units. That's why our management services come with the units. So you'll know that whether you stay in a Moliving unit on the West Coast, on the East Coast, north of the country, south of the country, that you're going to have a 4 to 5 star experience. So having this uniformity and this control on the management is extremely important. And that's why we keep it. If we decide to sell it to someone, like any consumer or eventually any business, if you stay in an Airstream hotel, for example, there are many across the US today, you may have a 4-star experience or you can maybe have a 2-star experience. You don't really know what you're getting into. So the value of your brand all of a sudden becomes minimal.
Interesting. What are the plans? You shared this with us in class, but I want to reiterate that for people who are just meeting you for the first time. Plans for opening up units on the West Coast and then the East Coast in the United States.
So we have a pipeline of about 50 sites right now that are in due diligence from our teams. We're hoping to open quite soon on the West Coast. There's some areas of interest are Napa Valley, Sonoma, Palm Springs area, and so on.
Okay, good. So we look forward to experiencing that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'd say Utah as well is somewhere of interest. Oregon has some great properties as well. There's so much land in the United States, and there's so many incredible places that people just don't go visit, or they visit but don't have a good experience. And our ability to open quicker than anyone else, and not even that, our ability to actually be able to sit on land on a non-permanent basis and be able to leave without actually impacting the land gives us the opportunity to actually be way closer than anyone else in national parks, for example, giving people that want a luxury experience the opportunity to actually stay within those parks, maybe.
Yes. I'm so curious as to how did you get the inspiration to think of this concept, which is not, it's very, very kind of under the radar, very different, but it makes sense. What inspired you to come up with this idea and this concept?
Being fed up. I went one day. My sister and I were sitting on a beach in a very seasonal place right outside of New York, and we're complaining about why the hotel market was so expensive in that specific area. We backed into the fact that they were only open for 4 months out of the year. And we started off with an idea now almost 4 years ago of saying, hey, it would be really fun if we could actually build a hotel that could move. So it took us about 3.5 years to develop a product correctly that's tailor-made for the hospitality industry.
Indeed. Yeah. As we learn a little bit more about you and what makes you tick as a person, Jordon, what do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
That's an interesting one.
Talk to us.
No, I like to open doors.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things I've been told before is that I can get in the room with anyone, within reason, of course. But I will always find a way to be able to get in a room. So maybe that's something it's a question I've never actually even thought of.
Okay. Yeah. We'll come back to that to you in maybe a couple of months, see if you have an answer, a different or a varied answer by then. Isabel, over to you for your next question. It's your choice, whatever you want to say, because we're playing a nice game of tennis right now since Jordon referred to tennis earlier.
So as a musician myself, this question is important to me personally. So what is the live entertainment kind of plans for Moliving campuses, if there are any?
Yeah, so each site will have a different programming, because if you're staying on a beach or staying on a mountain, you'll obviously have different things to do. We'd like to incorporate as many activities, what I call natural activities, whether it's live acoustic music to actual live art. Actually, our first property that's going to be upstate has a couple partnerships already lined up with some amazing galleries that are going to help us display some very high-end outdoor art, sort of like Storm King. That's a famous place outside of New York. So in terms of music, as much as we can get, we want a good vibe. That's what we want. what Moliving is the brand is actually an oxymoron. And I know it sounds crazy when you really think about it, but it's providing luxury within nature. So you want to be in nature, but you want to be in the comfort of a 5-star hotel. Our units are full of technology, but you would never know unless you go and look for it, for example. Everything's hidden, and it's what you make of your experience.
Interesting. Very well. You spoke about kind of this idea taking even 4 years to come to fruition. That shows an amazing amount of like resilience and fortitude. What would you like to be better at as you look at yourself personally?
Be more organized.
Oh,
I'm everywhere all the time. I have a million ideas a minute. I would love to actually be able to come to fruition on more ideas quicker, but yet keep the same amount of intensity that I have in current ideas I'm developing right now.
okay. And then in the spirit of being more organized, our next question talks about like lessons, life lessons. So what do you feel is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
Keep on trucking.
Ah.
Never give up.
And why did that take you so long to learn, do you feel?
I've had opportunities before when you were talking about failures that I never pushed through fully. And I think that some of them had huge potential and other people now have developed it and made great things. I think that today I'm going to the end of everything I'm doing. So
I like that. I like that. Going to the end of everything you're doing. I like that statement. Isabel, over to you.
How will Moliving impact like the communities and towns nearby?
we're going to be creating a ton of jobs. We're going to be providing neighbors with the opportunity in seasonal places to have somewhere to come and regroup. F&B and food and beverage and restaurants and hotels are great, but you can't only depend on your own guests. You have to depend on the community that's around you. The idea of Moliving is that we integrate ourselves in a new market. So we have to depend on the locals around us. That gives us our strength and our identity. Every single site has to be purely integrated and has to have the help of people to actually run.
When you speak about jobs and creating jobs, what would be the typical management structure at a Moliving campus? Like we talk a lot in class about like hotel executive committee. What's a typical kind of management structure for one of your kind of campuses?
I should have had Augustine join our head of development. That's more question for him, to be quite honest, than the question for Hannah. But my sister that runs the Moliving Collection, it's called, which is our management company, along with Augustine, would be able to better answer that.
Okay.
But his background, just to give you some more information, his background's Four Seasons. My sister worked for SB and Beverly Hills Hotel, which is quite close to you guys.
Yes.
And they would be running all the management, so I'd have to divert back to them.
Okay, we'll put a bookmark in that one. What other questions do you have, Isabel?
What kind of compromises have you had to make that maybe like weren't totally what you expected?
To make compromises I don't know if this is a personal question and I have to bring in my girlfriend or if it's business compromise. But if it's business compromise, there are compromises every day. I'd love to build a product that could do amazing things, but you have to come back to reality, whether it's compromise because you don't have enough cash, whether it's a compromise because of building regulations, for example, because once again, we're under the RVIA and ANSI code. There are compromises every day I want to stretch a dollar maybe further and decide that although we have a ton of work, that we're going to take on an extra job because it's better to take on an extra job right now versus hiring a person part-time. It's part of your business day is figuring out what's actually worth it or not.
One thing I've noticed is that if we're able to develop really strong habits, it helps us, both students, professionals, and once they get into the working world, kind of level up quicker than if you don't work on your habits. The question is, what's maybe one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that has really helped you kind of advance and grow?
Yeah. I'd probably say just coming back to organization and having an hour in the morning to actually exercise, which I've been doing for a little over a year, really exercise 5 to 6 days a week in the morning, but then get back and say, all right, the first hour of my day, I'm just catching up on emails and I'm actually planning what I need to do and write things down. It comes back to just being a little bit more organized because once again, our job, we're jacks of all trade at this point. We're all doing everything. There's moments that I call my sister and say, hey, I need you to come into a development meeting because I need your opinion and I need this to happen or not to happen. So originally when we started this, you couldn't have real organization. But now we're being organized, we're really running through everything and being able to still be the jack of all trades with some sort of organization.
Great words there. Isabel, what else do you have for us?
What kind of vision do you see for Moliving and for yourself, like a couple years down the line?
Hopefully have a lot of hotels. We'd love to develop very rapidly throughout the U.S. As I said, we have the ability to develop the brand quicker than anyone has ever developed so far. And hopefully in a couple of years, we move to the international, to Western Europe, for example.
Yeah, excited about that. Excited to see the growth and everything. One thing that I continue to be pleasantly surprised about kind of the students at Cal State University Fullerton is that they love to read. I love to read also. I'm curious if there was 1, 2, or even 3 books that you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them immediately. What comes to mind?
So I'm a person, I'm not the good example here. I read so many contracts every day that I don't read that much. Unfortunately, and my girlfriend's someone that reads tremendously all the time, and she says you have to develop your other side of your brain by reading fiction, for example. But I find more enjoyable reading true stories, and mostly recent stories about the economy and so on. That's just my personal interest. So not proud of it, but being 100% honest that I should be reading way more.
We all could read way more. Isabel, I'll go to you for one more question, then I'll finish up with our final 2. So go ahead and ask away.
Could you please ballpark like the room rate at like a campus in California?
I don't know specifically about California because every single market commands a different price. But I can know that in New York, we're going to be starting at $259 a night and going up from there. So it just depends on that would be probably midweek occupancy and low season.
Interesting. Good rates there. Good rates to start off with for sure. The final 2 questions that I have for you are more about like reflections and advice. So the first question would be, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received was to learn from others. Learn as much as you can. Paid education. I started off my career in finance, didn't really like finance and wanted to go work with my father actually immediately. And he told me, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to go work for other people. You're going to find jobs with other people, and you're going to learn as much as you can. And it opened up a whole side that I had no idea even existed. And I've learned a lot, made amazing friends. As a matter of fact, some of my mentors are now investors in Molivings, which I'm very proud of. And, it's really go learn from others, bring it home, and just give it everything you got.
Amazing. And finally, if we were going to go back and talk to 21-year-old Jordon, what advice would you give him based on what you know now?
21-year-old Jordon? I don't know if we want to go there. It comes back. It's the same. It's really the same answer. Everyone has something to teach you. Be humble and listen. And the more you listen, the more you're going to learn from people. The more you're going to learn from people, the more you're going to open your mind. And the more you're going to open your mind, someday you're going to hit the jackpot in your head. So you're going to find something, and you're going to find the path, and it's just, it all illuminates almost.
Yeah, indeed. We will let you kind of first answer for anyone who's watching and they're interested in reaching out and discussing more things with you. Is it okay that they connect with you via LinkedIn? We promote that also.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So we have a couple announcements, then we'll let Jordon go. So first of all, we have our Cal State University Fullerton EHM Alumni Mixer. It's on Friday, October 8th, 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can contact us for more information or go to the reservation link, bit.ly/EHM Alumni Fall 21. We also have a Discord that you can kind of join to engage in further conversations offline as well. So you can see it's like bit.ly/EHM Discord, or you can take a snap of the QR code. So we have that there with us. So please continue to connect with us. What we'll do after this is, Jordon, we'll let you kind of lead us into the weekend with any kind of final words of wisdoms or advice or anything you might have wanted to share about Moliving before we go on and continue about our day.
Just have fun, guys. Feel free to reach out to me at any point, and have a great weekend.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone who's tuned in for the live version. Thank you, Jordon, for being a great guest. Isabel, nice job on your debut as co-host. Appreciate that. Awesome work there. And with everyone else, please continue to stay safe. We will see you on campus real soon, and have a great weekend. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Take care, guys.